Hi everyone, welcome back to the Comics Cube. Today we're talking Zack Snyder's Justice League. Paul is so giddy. So Paul, I take it you liked it.
Oh, it's all right, you know. No, I loved it. It was everything I wanted it to be. It was wonderful. It was, I mean, everything I liked about Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman was there. It was larger than life, operatic. Everything's turned up to 11, but like everyone in the film's taking it really seriously. I think it was mentioned it to you before off camera. One of the reviews I read was talking about the childlike sincerity everyone's taking it in on screen, and it's true. There's no winking at the camera, and it's like everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm in for this." I'm committed, and it's kind of like it made me think about being like a teenage fan boy again, but in a nice way. Just like, yeah, this is serious. This is modern day mythology, man. Kind of. And it was a nice feeling to be reminded of that, being in that mindset. There's something quite innocent about it, I think.
It's funny because I know you. I know that you love the Snyder movies, but I also know that you like them for reasons that not all the Snyder fans would cite
Yeah.
and admit to.
Well, it's like I don't want to sort of come across like I'm saying, "Oh, it's so bad, it's good," because I'm not saying I like them ironically.
You don't, yeah. You don't
No,
like them
no,
at
I fully like them 100% for what they are, but I like them because they're fun. I don't like them because they're such a serious, dark take on the character. I like them because they are big, huge, fun movies,
yeah. Do you know? I've seen people saying this movie is really dark and mature.
But and I think there's a difference between it being a parody and it being fun, because I mean, for example, just to pick a scene off the top of my head, Superman's back from the dead, and he's having his heartfelt scene with Lois, but he's standing in a cornfield, and bloody butterflies are landing on him, and it's lovely, but it's again, it's turned up to 11. It's almost like Snow White, isn't it? The forest creatures are gathering around him. And that's wonderful, but it's not mature, in the way these people mean it's mature,
Well,
it's
yeah, I mean, the problem with that is when they say it's dark and mature, they're using those two things to mean the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
mature doesn't really, dark doesn't mean mature, people.
Mm,
It, it's
absolutely.
it's an aspect of life. That's it. Like, unless, once you're past 18, you should have learned this.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, I see like Batman saying the F word, and you know, Dark Side. Big spoilers here, by the way. Is that okay? Saying
Of
all the
course, yeah,
spoilers?
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone has seen it at this point.
Yeah, so you see Batman saying the F word, and the Unity exploding out, and Superman and Wonder Woman exploding into guts, and it's like that's you could describe that as dark in that it's swearing and it's gory, but it's not dark, really, is it? It's like sort of like a teenager's idea of mature, but that's not a bad thing. That's not like me saying, "Oh, it's kids stuff," because it is kids stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, it's kid
You
stuff, yeah.
know, yeah, that's okay. But like when you're a teenager, it's like Batman just said the F word. That's awesome. And that's the kind of spirit I watch it in, and that's what I feel when I see it. Like, yeah, that is really cool if you're on board with that kind of spirit, but it's not mature in the way they mean it's mature.
I envy your ability to to kind of go back to an earlier version of yourself or be able to channel an earlier version of yourself because I can't do it. Well, we're about the same age. I can't do it. I wasn't intending to watch this movie, as you know, because
Hmm.
I didn't like Man of Steel and I didn't like Batman versus Superman. Um, but I was caught in a situation where I was with people and they wanted to watch it.
Hmm.
I was with four people, two guys and two girls. An hour and 20 minutes into it, the girls completely tapped out. Because we were, I mean, to be fair, we were watching it late. Um, and then they tapped out, and then we were, and then we guys were like, "Do you want us to wait for you to finish this movie?" And then they're like, "No, go ahead, finish the movie." And then instead of finishing the movie, we decided we were gonna play video games instead. And then the next day, we were all hanging out and we watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was only like 30 minutes long, which I have my own thoughts about it. It's not what I wanted it to be, but okay. Um, and then we said, "So do you girls want to finish? Do you girls want to finish the Justice League now?" And they said, "No, go ahead and finish it." So now we're watching it, and we're watching it, we're watching it, we're watching it, and at one point, I wake up, meaning I'd fallen asleep, and I checked the time, and it seems like I fell asleep for like a good half hour. And I said, "So what I miss?" And then one of them goes, "So it explains why Darkseid never came back to Earth, um, and also the Martian Manhunter." And I'm like, "No way, you're kidding me. There's no way he's in this movie." And then he goes, "No, no, no, the Martian Manhunter is in here." I was like, "No way." And then the other guy goes, "No, no, no, he's in here and he's Martha Kent." I'm like, "What? There's no way." And then I go, "So you mean I missed nothing relevant to the plot, basically?" And then they go, "No, I don't think you missed anything relevant to the plot." I was like, "Okay." And do you want to rewind it and see those scenes? I was like, "No, keep going." This movie
the
is
thing
so long, Paul.
the thing about it is it's like a banquet, and the banquet is filled with, like, the most indulgent, rich, fatty foods, all over the place. And and people are going to tap out of that banquet, but me, I'm a great big guy who's greedy, and I'm just like, yeah, give me more, give me more. And like, there's a Martian Manhunter cake that really doesn't need to be a part of this banquet, but I'm like, yeah, give it to me. I want it, I want it, I want it. And it's indulgence, isn't it? But it's not just self-indulgence on Snyder's part, because there is genuinely an audience for it, like, and a very loud audience for
Very,
it.
very loud audience.
And and I'm the audience for it too. So that this is how I see it, as just this just huge feast. And of course, the problem with just laying on this huge banquet is that it's not going to be for everyone, is it? Like, which
Yeah,
is obvious.
not everyone goes to a buffet. I mean, I'm
Exactly.
a very thin person. I Buffets are kind of wasted on me.
Yeah, but me, I love a buffet, I go to a wedding, I'm first in the queue, like, so, and that's how I kind of see this film. Um, yeah, and part of it's all excess, isn't it? And it's all stuff that there's the main plot, which I do think is told better than the main plot in any of the other two films, in Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman. I mean, I think the main plot in this
Yeah.
is really coherent, but along the way there, you've got all these things that don't need to be in there. Like Martian Manhunter doesn't need to be in there. Superman doesn't need to go into his walk-in wardrobe just before the main fight to pick his black suit off the peg, like But it's cool,
Oh my God! Don't get me started on the black suit.
There is no reason for it
Don't get
except
me.
it's cool. But I mean, this brings me to the one thought I had about it. It was quite a big thing I realized about it. This is the perfect medium for it. Streaming is the
Yes.
perfect medium for Zack Snyder and these films because when you go back to Batman versus Superman, I enjoyed it in the film, in the theater, in the cinema, but I much preferred the DVD Ultimate Edition, and that is about 3 hours long. But in the DVD Ultimate Edition, the Blu-ray, sorry, Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman, you see the scale of Luthor's plan. You see exactly who's involved in Luthor's plan. Things that didn't make sense before suddenly make sense. Like the whole reason the people that Batman has caught are being killed in prison is because Luthor's arranging for them to get killed, and it's part of this scheme to sort of drive Superman and Batman into this battle. And that's just one example of the things that make a lot more sense. But Snyder's job is to make cinematic experiences that are accessible to lots of people, especially when you're dealing with superheroes. So if the Ultimate Edition Blu-ray is the best version of it, I don't feel like he's doing his job. And it's the same with Justice League, 4 hour version on the telly where you can have comfort breaks and you're on your sofa and you can soak it in. That's the medium to enjoy it, which is really ironic because, of course, he's put it in this screen ratio thing because he wants it to be in the IMAX. So he wants it to be a cinematic experience, which I find really interesting because I don't think it is a cinematic experience other than the fact that it will look beautiful on the big screen.
Yeah,
But
that's it. That's always, I think, the one
yeah,
thing I can't ever take away from him is his cinematography is
yeah.
pretty flawless. I have problems with what goes into the cinematography. the,
um,
the way they're shot, I have no problems with that.
yeah. But this is another thought I had then about it, and it's like, well, I don't see a future for this style of DC film. I mean, I absolutely love
Lots
it.
of people would disagree with you on this one.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and I know this is a controversial thing to say, and I mean, if they continue to make 4 hour Zack Snyder DC films, I'd love them. But superheroes belong to everybody, and they need to be as accessible as possible. So if you're making DC superhero films that only certain people can enjoy from the comfort of their own home, and they've not got to have 4 hours to spare, and they've got to be on board for this banquet, this feast, that's not the future for a franchise.
Yeah.
That's not. And I'm not saying DC should go away and copy Marvel because let's face it, Joss Whedon tried that and it didn't bloody work.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna
Yeah.
happen. But counter argument,
Mm.
Joss Whedon also directed one of the worst Marvel films, so he's not he's not really the guy to be going for that.
That is true. That's not a good example, perhaps, but I don't necessarily. I mean,
When we
if they
see
did,
James Gunn's Suicide Squad, it's probably a
that's true. That'll be an
better.
interesting
Yeah.
test. Yeah. Because if they did copy Marvel, there's a lot worse people to copy, isn't there? But if they want to forge their own identity, that's even better, I think. But the trick is doing that and making it as equally accessible as Marvel, which they haven't done so far, unfortunately.
I completely agree with you about the streaming thing. I mean, that was one of the things that I poo-pooed the Snyder Cut for years, and then when COVID hit and the world locked down, and it was clear that streaming was going to be a thing, and that content was going to be hard to make because of the pandemic, And then HBO announced the Snyder Cut. I was like, that's actually genius
Yeah.
because you get to make a movie, with I know they reshot scenes and then they paid him, which is why we should not call it the Snyder Cut. It's a different movie. The Martian Manhunter was apparently not filmed in the original cut,
Hmm.
so it is not a Snyder Cut. Anyway, it is Zack Snyder's Justice League is the correct and accurate way to describe it. Um, so and then you get to make content with as minimal overhead as possible. I know they reshot scenes, and of course they paid people. And then there's a built-in audience. So
Hmm.
even in that case, I thought like releasing it on streaming was kind of genius.
Yeah.
It's the same with it's the same kind of mentality as like releasing the Disney Plus TV shows on streaming, because that doesn't work on regular network TV or even cable TV. Like
Yeah.
you need like because you're locked into that subscription. WandaVision could do that slow burn that or whatever, which they couldn't have done on network TV or cable TV. The other thing about the Snyder Cut, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, to me, um, you're right. I don't think they should copy Marvel. I don't know how they're gonna make it equally accessible to everyone, because even the people who liked this one, I can't really imagine, that the casual movie going audience who like this one would
Hmm.
like a universe of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big, you're asking a lot of the audience, aren't you? To put themselves in a specific mindset. I mean, the Marvel films, people who are there for a laugh will have a laugh. People who are there for the action will enjoy the action. People who are there for the characters will enjoy the characters and the soap opera. But for the DC films, you've got to put yourself in this specific mindset where you're going to enjoy this huge operatic, larger than life feast.
Hmm.
And not everyone's going to put themselves in that mindset. Not everyone wants to put themselves in that mindset when they go and see a film.
Yeah, it's the same with also like just the general tone of it, because Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, very critically acclaimed and everything. I don't think you could have really spun a universe out of it.
Yeah. No, quite right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Unless,
true.
yeah, I don't. It's just I think for to spin a universe out of something, you have to have like a fairly neutral baseline. This
Hmm.
is not a neutral baseline.
Yeah, yeah. It's true.
Um, let's talk about one thing that bugged me, and but I'm sure you loved. Oh my god, the Superman black suit. Paul, I hate the way he does Superman.
I just think it's like wow, Superman's in a black suit. Why is he in a black suit? Who cares? He's in a black suit. It's part of that sort of spirit of excess. And wouldn't it be cool if this? And wouldn't it be cool if that? It's like he's in a black suit.
I'd have been fine with it if by the end when he was doing the Christopher Reeve thing, it wasn't the black suit.
Mm,
Um, and then they do the dream sequence, and in the dream sequence where he's evil, he's in the red and blue suit. I'm
mm.
like, come on, Zach.
Yeah.
Superman.
No,
Um,
it's a fair point.
and then the Snyder haters were talking about that, and they see it on Twitter, and then they were going, I can't believe he put him in the black suit. It's an homage to a comic that wasn't even good. And I got words for you, Snyder haters. That comic is very good.
Well, there's two prominent stories where he's worn a black suit. There's the Return of Superman, when he comes back from the dead, and there's Lois and Clark, where he's got a beard and he's raising John Kent on the
That's
farm with
true.
Lois,
Yes,
and both
they're
of those
both
stories are
very good.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there we
But
go.
you know what those two stories have that this one doesn't?
Mm.
A reason for the black suit.
True, true, very true. I'm not going to argue. There is no reason for it.
In the Return of Superman, it's a regenerative suit because he doesn't have powers. In Lois and Clark, um, he's in hiding, so he's trying not to call attention to himself. This one looks like he went in, retailored some of Zod's wardrobe from Man of Steel,
Yeah.
and and came out, and then spoke to Alfred for some reason because he couldn't just
Yeah.
himself.
Uh,
What did you think?
but yeah,
Yeah, go
go
ahead.
on, sorry. No, go on, sorry.
No, I mean, I was gonna run down the characters and then ask you what you thought of
Oh,
each one.
oh well. Yeah, I'm up for that. Go for it. Yeah. Who's
Uh,
first?
yeah, what did you think of Aquaman?
Oh, obviously I love Aquaman, but he's just so great. And I guess if anyone had least to do in this, maybe it was him. But even so, he had wonderful moments because he was the first one to take on Steppenwolf in battle. I think out of the out of the six of them, obviously the Amazons fought him first, but Aquaman actually fights him, and that's pretty awesome. Oh, and sorry, it's a bit of a tangent, but when Mera sucks the blood out of Steppenwolf's face, that was so cool. I love that. So yeah, so Aquaman he gets to fight him. You've got these lovely scenes of him. Oh, when he rescues that fisherman and he takes him to a pub and dumps him on the bar, gets him whiskey, and then poses on the dock for a bit. That's in Wales, my
Really?
home country. Yeah, because the fisherman's got a Welsh accent. If you listen out, he's going, "I'm going down." He's on the boat. He's speaking in a Welsh accent, and the barman in the pub is credited as a Welsh tavern barkeep in the
Mm-hmm.
credits. So yeah, he's in Wales. He's
Cool.
posing on the dock, pouring whiskey down his neck in Wales. So I love Aquaman for that, and he's just got some really lovely moments in it as well. Just that, and considering this isn't a subtle film, and he's not a subtle character, they're quite quiet moments as well. Like for example, when Flash is like, "I thought you didn't care," and he's like, "I never said that." I think that's a really sort of understated but lovely bit. But then, of course, you've got the not understated bits when he's riding on the Batmobile and stripping off on the dock and surfing on the corpse of a of an alien. So yeah, I thought he was brilliant, even though
Yeah,
he's probably in it the least out of the six of them.
he's in also like just if somebody there is gonna be absolutely not subtle, Jason Momoa. He's
Mm.
just such a charismatic dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to drink with him. So, why does Batman bribe Aquaman with U.S. dollars?
That's a good point. I never thought of that. Well, because that Nordic pub they're in has a really nice bureau de change right next. And it's also got a lovely a lovely top shop, a lovely clothes shop right next to it, where that girl can go and exchange the jumpers that Aquaman's for store credit.
I I liked Aquaman. The one thing from the Whedon version that was clearly from the Whedon version because it's not in this version that I missed is that scene of him sitting on the lasso.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it's not even that it's a funny scene or anything or funnily written or anything. It's just that Momoa delivered. This guy's understated, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In terms of his underrated in terms of the way his comedic delivery.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can give him most lines to do, and he'll make something with them because, like you say, he's so charismatic.
Yeah,
Uh, but generally speaking, I mean, with all the characters and with most of the film, my favorite bits of the Whedon film were from the Snyder version. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, him riding on the Batmobile, him surfing on the Alien. That's
Yeah.
all in the Whedon version, but it's from here.
Speaking of Whedon, uh, oops, I shouldn't be speaking of Whedon. The the scene that I thought was definitely from him and wasn't from him, apparently, is the entire scene with Bruce and Barry talking about how Bruce has money. Like I definitely
Yeah,
that was a Whedon addition. So
I guess.
what did you think of Bruce is what I'm saying.
Oh, Bruce. Well, yeah. I mean, like Batfleck. He's not my favorite Batman, but I do like him. I do think he's good, and I think he plays that sort of weary, um, aged Batman quite well. And I feel like he in the Snyder version of Justice League, he's sort of grown beyond that Frank Miller version we got in Batman versus Superman, which is quite lovely to see. And Affleck does very well with, that sort of like, oh, I'm doing this all on faith. And he's really enjoying being with the Justice League. He's really enjoying playing with his friends. Because as you know from previous videos, I think Batman's essentially a broken little boy.
Says he wants to be alone, but really just wants company.
Exactly. I mean, and kind of, because Whedon kind of forced in that sort of subplot of Batman being a dick and the rest of them all telling Batman off for being a dick. But in the Snyder version, you get the sense that they actually all enjoy being around each other,
Hmm.
and none more so than Batman. He's absolutely delighted to have all these people around him,
Yeah,
and
well,
Affleck conveys that really well.
well, you know why that is? It's because Whedon is not a DC fan. He's on
Hmm.
record as saying that he thought that DC characters weren't good except for Batman because Batman is the most like a Marvel character, which means driven by pain, which is the defining thing about Joss Whedon in all of his work anyway. Which which is why when people were saying things like Joss Whedon should just take over the DC universe, I was like, you do not want Joss Whedon to take over the DC
No,
universe, trust me. Um,
no.
and then I liked one thing I liked about this movie is it shows that Batman is useless and how they had to contrive scenes for him to do, like flying his plane into the force field while everyone is, outside waiting for him to get in when they could have just been on the plane themselves. Yeah.
So one thing, when I was watching it the second time, because I watched it first on my own and then I watched it the second time with my partner Jenny, and there's a bit where that's right, it's when they resurrect Superman, and then they all show up at the monument to fight Superman except Batman. And Jenny's like, "Where's Batman?" And I'm like, "Well, he has to jog over there from the ship, doesn't he?" The rest of them speed there, and Batman's like, just
Hey, I might have missed this line, but in the Whedon version, before Lois shows up, Batman says, "Bring out the big gun," and he's obviously referring to Lois. Did he say anything here about it?
No, no, he doesn't go and get Lois in this.
So Lois just shows up in this.
Well, to be fair, it's established that she's going to the monument every day,
Hmm.
um, just to hang out there because she's not over her grief. And the day,
Oh, that's the part I slept through.
yeah, 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 and the day that Superman is resurrected is established as like the last day Lois is going there. She kind of made up her mind. This is the last time I'm going, and that's the time Superman shows up, kind of thing. So again, it doesn't feel contrived. It feels quite natural that that's come about.
Hmm. I think it made more sense to me to know that Bruce, tipped her to what was happening.
Yeah,
But
but I think that was Whedon trying to do the Lois to make sense of the Lois is the key plot point,
mhm, yeah.
which
Um,
didn't need to be done in this version.
and another thing, like I like I mean, I've seen Ben Affleck since Dazed and Confused, and every time I see Ben Affleck in anything, it's like seeing an old friend that you kind of grew apart from. That's like, oh, good for you, dude. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. Um, and this is one of those things. I'm like, I know a lot of people don't really think he's a good actor, which he is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's not a great actor, but
No.
um, and I know a lot of people think that his Bruce Wayne isn't his Batman isn't the best except for the action scenes, but I don't really care. I'm like,
Yeah.
good for you, dude. I'm so happy for you. The
He
thing
does the
though
job.
is that if you really wanted an aged Batman, Jeremy Irons would be a really good, really old Batman. I was thinking that every time he was on the screen. I was like, Jeremy Irons would actually be a really good, really old Batman.
Yeah, that is true. I can see that actually. Yeah, yeah.
What do you think of the Flash?
He's my favorite one in it. I I think Ezra Miller is absolutely fantastic in this film. Um, and you can see, one of the reasons Whedon seems to have kept most of the Flash bits is because they're funny, and obviously Whedon wanted to put humor in it. But I think also it's got to be the fact that Ezra Miller is just so good, so fun to have on the screen, so enjoyable, um, with all their ad libbing and quips. And there's bits in it that like they completely sell to me. Like one of my favorite bits in the Whedon version, which turned out to be from the Snyder version, was when Flash is running around Superman at the monument and
Yeah,
Superman's fighting off the rest of them, and Superman just turns and looks at the Flash, and Ezra Miller completely sells this idea of like nobody has ever done this to me before. What is happening? And Miller's real moment to shine in this film, and it kind of just made it for me, was at the very, very end, at the climax, when he's supposed to charge up Cyborg, but he gets shot in the side, and it all goes wrong, and Flash realizes he has to go back in time in the same way Christopher Reeve did, back in the day, and have another shot at it. And for a start, that seems beautiful. I just love where Flash is running and the ground is assembling itself under his feet. I think that, and you can see all like galaxies and nebulae and stuff in the background. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. But the real strength of that bit is Ezra Miller, because before that happens, before he has to go back in time, he's trying to will. They're trying to will themselves to heal, and Miller expresses on their face just the pain and the fear and the frustration and the determination. And it's almost like they're whining. They're like, I just need a minute. But not in an annoying way, but in a like, yeah, I can imagine that. He must be so gutted. And Ezra Miller sells that completely. So then, when you do have this climactic feeling, then of Flash going back in time and recalling his father and doing it and charging up Cyborg, you're like, yes, yeah, that's how I felt anyway. And it was all because of how Ezra Miller sold the frustration and the fear and the desperation to me.
my one comment about Ezra Miller as the Flash is has this man never run?
I love that. Do you know what my partner
It's
described
so
it as?
awkward.
No, what I think is so beautiful about this, my partner described this as like it's like Flash is almost conducting the Speed Force and drawing out parts of the Speed Force and controlling the Speed Force as he runs. And I really and it's really graceful as well. I find it quite graceful rather than awkward. So, and because you look at say Grant Gustin, and he's doing this, isn't he?
But I don't wanna look at Grant Gustin.
But you look at speedsters in anything else, and they're doing this, and and I think Ezra Miller's found a new way of conveying super speed in this graceful way. I love it. I know someone on Twitter said, "Why does Ezra Miller run like they're slipping on banana skins. But I like that.
Like all the time. I've already told you. Okay, so I've already told you what I thought of Zack's new Superman. What do you think of the way he treated him here?
Um, it was the closest I've got with Henry Cavill Superman to a Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh kind of feeling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like that feeling of Superman Returns where Brandon Routh catches the plane, or when Christopher Reeve does pretty much anything in any of his films. You know, just that moment where he shows up and the axe just goes there and he gets not impressed and he beats the absolute crap out of Steppenwolf. And I was like, yes, you know, it felt really triumphant. And I just and the closest you got to that in the other films, I feel, was him flying for the first time in Man of Steel.
Yeah,
But you didn't get any of that really in Batman versus Superman because it wasn't really that kind of film. But in this, you just got this like, yeah, you know, Superman. Yes, Superman's here. That feeling of joy that Superman's arrived. You know, I really appreciated that.
I like I like that whole fight scene too. I think it. I basically like the choreography and the fight scene Superman was in. I I think Henry Cavill's portrayed him mainly in a quite boring way for the most part. But I did feel it when the axe hits him, and then he uses the super breath and everything. One of the things that I realized was that as much as Zack Snyder has been criticized for excess, and by me, by people like me, for excess in terms of the violence, I didn't really think there was too much excess violence in this movie. Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, I know Wonder Woman decapitates Steppenwolf, but I also feel like at that point it's warranted.
yeah,
The one instance of excess violence in this movie that I saw was Wonder Woman mere seconds after using her super speed to block a bunch of bullets and save a bunch of kids decides she's going to use her most powerful exploding bracelets power to, I'm sorry, murder the gunman who is reloading his gun, which he could very easily she could very easily stop, cause thousands of dollars in property damage, endanger the people below, and traumatize these children even more.
no, because that was something I appreciated that we didn't get enough of in the other films, and I don't think the other films were as bad at this as people say they were. But you know, there was an element of it, of civilian care. You know, like Wonder Woman went and looked after him afterwards, and she's like, "I've just turned that bloke into dust. Are you all right?" You know. And they're all okay, you know. She looks after him afterwards, you know.
There's this one girl who's like, I want to be like you when I grow up, which
Mm.
I get what that's going for, but at this point, I'm like, if all the Wonder Woman movies or whatever have never have a scene like this ever again, I'm good.
Oh, I know what you mean. Uh,
It's in every movie she's in.
yeah, and I think because this is a Snyder movie, it's laid on particularly thick in that moment, like you know. But it's quite nice, isn't it? You
I mean, it's
know.
nice. It's nice. It's just, uh, this is the fourth time I've seen Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and I think I'm just oh God, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I'm just doubling down on this right now. I think she has charisma. I think she has presence. I think she carries herself as Wonder Woman really well. but good lord, this woman cannot deliver lines. It's not the accent. It's not the accent. It's not the accent at all. It's just the way she delivers lines. She reads them like she's reading out of a cue card. When she says Kal-El no at the monument, like I hear no urgency at all in this woman's voice.
I know what you mean, but I think it's kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. And again, not just because of the accent. I think it's because, Arnie's got charisma, isn't he, that overcomes any sort of deficits in his acting ability. And I think the presence and the charisma you mentioned with Gal Gadot is enough for me. It overcomes any deficiencies she has in delivering her lines.
I'm sure it's enough for most people, but
Hmm.
one of the people I was watching it uh, uh, yesterday with, actually remembered that line, Kal-El no. So
Hmm.
he actually Googled it. And then when he Googled Kal-El, the first suggested result was Kal-El no.
So it's a meme already then.
So it can't have just been us. And then speaking of that, choosing Wonder Woman as the narrator for the exposition for 5 minutes of your plot, that is a choice, Zach. That is definitely a choice.
I loved you think
To be
about like
clear, I would not replace her.
no, no,
I
no.
would not replace her. She just clearly has. She's just clearly not the most talented actor on this set.
But she is one of the most charismatic.
She
Obviously,
is.
Momoa is the most charismatic, but so
She's one
she's
of the
up
two
there.
most charismatic. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, Affleck. It's not you. I remember a time when the world was sick of you, Affleck. I never did though. I never stopped believing in Ben Affleck.
No,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, you were saying about Gal.
Oh, I loved just all the extra stuff she got to do in this version, like finding out about Darkseid. I mean, Whedon just stuck it on a wall, didn't he, in a pub or something? But like, Gal Gadot's got this kind of subplot about like missing home, which presumably is going to set up some film that might never happen. I guess I don't know, but she's got this kind of subplot about being separated from the Amazonians, and part of that is her going to Greece and walking down those steps and being all Indiana Jones. And I really enjoyed that.
In that dress.
Yes,
That
jumping
is
about in her heels. Yeah.
that is your that's exactly what you were saying. It's excess, right?
Mm. Yeah,
Um
yeah.
someone an artist that I follow on, a comics artist that I follow on Facebook, pointed out that the movie is kind of the equivalent of those 90s comics where it's all splash pages
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and the story may or may not be, it may or may not be the most put together story, but you're just looking at the splash pages and everything is like boom.
Do you
And
know? Do you know what it makes me think of in tone and style? And it's a bit like what you're saying. It makes me think of this. It's very in keeping with this,
it's
the first
Jeff
Justice League story.
Johns' Justice League, yeah.
Well, Jeff Johns and Jim
And
Lee's
Jim Lee's
Justice League.
Justice League. That's it.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is.
yeah, and I really like this, and I know lots of people don't, but I really like this, and again, I got on board with the daft spirit of this as well, and yeah, it really kind of captures that vibe for me.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it.
Although, although of course, Jeff Johns himself didn't really help the making of this film, from what I hear. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing about Diana, I thought was I thought she had the best action scenes.
Mm, yeah,
I think
absolutely.
she moved the best, definitely. I know you were mentioning the Flash turning back time, and we were talking about Superman showcasing his power. But Diana is just the way it's just her movements. I thought were the most visually striking.
Yeah. There's like thought to how everyone moves. You know, it's like real choreography has gone into how each of them fights,
Yeah,
which is probably the same for most of these superhero films, but I nevertheless found it quite impressive, you know? Like, you know, Wonder Woman's fighting like this trained warrior, and Batman's fighting like Batman, you know, whereas Superman, you know, it was choreographed enough that I think there's a famous thing going around the internet that, like, in those "Did you notice" listicles, that the reason Batman is able to fight Superman in Batman vs Superman, one of the reasons is that he's been studying videos of Zod fighting Superman, and you see him look at these videos earlier on, and Superman does those same moves or tries to do those same moves when he's fighting Batman later on. So like some real thought has gone into a unique style for each character, which is really cool.
and again with Batman, he does nothing by the end, so he doesn't really have to think about it.
That is true. But he got his little gun at the end, doesn't he?
Batman with guns. It's I know this Batman uses them, but it's still really striking.
Ah, alien guns don't count.
And it's the same with Nolan's Batman because I remembered when the Batmobile guns came out. I'm like,
Mm.
and then I remember that part in Dark Knight Rises where he's talking to the Catwoman about not using guns, but then she saves him using the guns from the Batmobile.
This is why it always bugged me when people go on about Batman vs Superman and they're like, Batman just ran over those men with his Batmobile. It's like, yeah, like he's done in every single Batman film except for the Adam West one. Like, you know, he literally slaughters people in every Batman film. Like, you know.
Um, so getting back to Diana, and the Amazons who were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He, so Joss Whedon completely reshot some scenes just so he could objectify them, right?
Yeah, yeah, and there's another bit that somebody showed me on Twitter the other day where Diana meets Bruce off the
Off
plane.
the plane, and it's her ass.
Yeah, in the Whedon version, it's the exact same scene, but you can see her ass. So Whedon's either re-edited it or reshot the scene completely just to get her ass in. Either way, he's thought about her ass, you know, and how he can get it into the scene. And like you say, it's the same with the Amazons as well.
Yeah, that was one thing when I noticed with the 2017 version, with the Whedon version. There was like all of these. It wasn't just that, but that was the one that I remembered. Was there was all these gratuitous shots of Gal,
Mm,
and Gal's body parts, and then somebody said like, "How is that different from Momoa taking off his shirt or Cavill fighting everyone shirtless?" I'm like, because you can still see their faces,
mm,
and
yes.
they're still doing something, and then it's Aquaman taking off his proactively taking off his shirt, as opposed to like us peeking up uh Gal's butt.
Well, and there's a kind of grace and beauty to what they're doing with, just to use that Momoa scene. Like, all right, they're objectifying it. It's something for the ladies, you know, but also, and I say this as a straight bloke, you know, it's a really beautiful scene. Like, you know, when he's taking off his shirt, walking in slow motion with his whiskey. It's yeah, it's saying look how good looking this bloke is, but it's also really beautiful. Whereas, like you say, if it's just a shot of Gal standing there when you can't see her head and you just see her ass, where's the grace and the beauty in that?
No,
It's not there.
it feels really voyeuristic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a massive difference. There's just a massive
Yeah,
difference in the agency, and
yeah.
also one of the guys I was watching with saw that scene with Momoa taking off his shirt and went, "God damn, those tattoos look cool."
Let's face it, we would all sniff his jumper if we could.
I know this one. I know this one girl who's got this big crush on Henry Cavill, and then when the movie was over, I'm like, hey, there's a 10-minute scene of Henry Cavill fighting everyone shirtless. She's like, I'm in. I'm in.
It's a bit of a
Uh,
tangent, but it's one of the reasons I really like Cavill, and it's nothing to do with his
mm.
performance. It's him. Like he strikes me as like a dork, and that's quite endearing. Like like he fought to have Superman hairy chested because that's how Dan Jurgens drew him in the Death of Superman, and I quite like that he fought for he died on that dorky hill, like
I it may be appropriate, it may not be, but I agree with you. I think he's kind of dorky.
Mm.
So whenever they try to portray him or they have him try to portray Superman as this like badass, with like heat vision and everything, I'm like, dude, no.
There's this bit where he's at the monument and he's all death addled, and Cyborg zaps him with a sonic blast or something, and he pulls this face like, "Ooh, that chafed that did," you know? It's like sort of whines, you know?
Yeah, and he's like scrunching his face like as he's
Yeah,
carrying a big giant version of his own head.
yeah. I mean, just like again talking about Snyder's excess and how wonderful it is, strange and wonderful. Just Superman chucking his own head at people, like it's brilliant.
Um, and also the Amazons. I remember from the 2017 movie, thinking that coming from the Wonder Woman movie, they seemed like really objectified, partly in
Mm,
the way they were dressed and partly in the way they were framed. But here, I mean, I think they were dressed the same way, but they weren't. They didn't feel that way. So Joss Whedon really absolutely went out of his way to uh to put these shots in, and
mm,
knowing what we know of him now, that's just really disgusting and weird.
absolutely.
So my favorite part of the movie was Ray Fisher. Speaking of Joss Whedon, my favorite part of the movie was Ray Fisher.
Yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal. Do you know what? He carries himself in
He's
this
great.
film.
He's great.
He's got, yeah, he's got this sort of quiet dignity to him all the way through the film. This sort of nobility, quiet nobility, and oh, it's wonderful. He's so good. Yeah.
I can absolutely see why he was so pissed.
Mm, yeah.
And that's even removing all of the racist stuff. So even in a vacuum, just judging the two products, the two movies, I can absolutely see why he was so pissed because this would have made his career.
Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, and he does. I really hope this doesn't ruin his career. What's happened to him? Because he's so good, and he's the spine of this film. He's carrying the story for a lot of it, and he does it so well. And he's draped in CGI as well half the time, isn't he? But
yeah,
he's still conveying this dignity and this nobility all the way through it, and this sadness. Um,
his
and
face,
like
his
I said,
line delivery. Yeah.
mm, he's absolutely wonderful, and he deserves lots of good things in his career, frankly.
See, that's a man who can deliver lines.
Yes, yes, there we go. Really, really is, yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, and I was never a fan of Cyborg in the Justice League.
no,
I never liked it because Cyborg is a Teen Titan.
do you know what? I'm the opposite though. I've never been a fan of Cyborg until he was in the Justice League. He only works for me as a League member because I thought it was really clever how they gave the youngest member the sort of Martian Manhunter role because he sort of connects them all with his tech in the same way that Martian Manhunter connected them with his telepathy. And I really enjoyed um, how they gave him that role and that purpose in the team, and some of that carries through to this film then as well.
Well, it's not that I was a big fan of Cyborg and the Teen Titans. It's just that I see him as a Teen Titan, and
Yeah, yeah.
if he's in the Justice League, eh, then I feel like Dick Grayson should be in the Justice League. That Wally West should be in the Justice League.
Beast Boy shouldn't.
No, 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 not Beast Boy. Then
Yeah,
Donna Troy should be. You know what I mean? It's just that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, and but the this movie, I think you also kind of see it in the Justice League cartoon. The person that people know the least has the ability to take you most by surprise, like Hawk Girl
Mm,
in the Justice League cartoon, and in this case, Cyborg. I thought
yeah.
Cyborg like really took me by surprise. I thought, yeah, I thought he was again, like you said, he was the spine of the film. And at one point, I was like, this guy's a good actor.
Mm.
One thing I don't think we needed, and this is going to be a running theme for everything about this movie for me, is I don't think we needed to see his football scene in extremely slow motion.
It's lovely though, isn't it? It's really beautiful, like all the snow coming down.
Let me say something to anyone who says this movie absolutely needed to be 4 hours long. I can guarantee you that cutting down on half the slow motion would have cut it down to three.
Yeah, no, I mean that is true. I mean, and somebody else I was speaking to didn't like the slow-mo stuff either, but I think that's part of the excess is, like I said, like the whole Flash thing, when you first see Barry use his powers, and that's in slow motion, ironically,
Well, that's the thing. It's like depicting the world around the Flash in slow motion is a standard speedster thing.
Hmm.
That's what Evan Peters is Quicksilver is most famous for.
Hmm.
But then they started slow moing Barry.
I've got this image of Zack Snyder in the editing suite, and there's some like assistant there going, "Damn it, Zack, we can't slow it down anymore." And Zack's like, "I said slower, damn it!" you know.
It's like every single scene that didn't have dialogue had slow motion. Did you
Mm,
realize this?
yeah, but I just don't think Zack Snyder knows how to make films any other way, which is a strength, but also a massive failing. And this is why, like we were saying earlier on about how this was like the perfect medium for it, it couldn't have worked as well as this any other way. We wouldn't have been seeing 4-star reviews for Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, if by some circumstances it had ever reached the cinemas, because it would have had to have been cut down for the cinema, and it wouldn't have been the same because Zack Snyder can't do films like that. And then I would have been saying the same thing about Justice League as I was saying about Batman versus Superman, Oh, the Blu-ray version's better, because
And even if he did manage to get this exact same version in the theater, it's just a different experience. You just
yes,
like
absolutely.
people are gonna tap out of it. People are gonna be like, "Oh my god, my butt hurts," and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, is there no intermission? Blah blah
yes.
blah. That's one thing that I noticed is that I saw somebody comparing this to Jack Kirby, to Jack Kirby's New Gods, and splash pages and everything. Uh, what do you think of that?
I absolutely on board with that
Yeah,
because um Kirby, like he wrote this sort of is this the right word? Portentous? Is that the right word?
I
Sort of
guess.
portentous spectacle,
Yeah.
This and that's what sort of Kirby wrote, and the sort of the copy that Kirby writes to accompany is it's like this is the old gods died and the new gods rose and rah 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 and and that's how Kirby made these comics, and that it's all very kind of serious in this bombastic, larger than life way, and I think that's one of the reasons he worked so well with Stan, who Stan was like taking the Mickey out of everything and grounding everything.
Hmm.
And they balanced each other out, and it was just the perfect combo. And it's the same with the movies. I mean, the movies of the Marvel movies, the spirit of Stan is running through them, not just in the cameos, but in this sort of like winking at the reader kind of spirit.
Oh
And that's
God!
not a criticism.
Now
It
Kirby
works.
fans are gonna hate us. Ah,
Whereas, the DC films, they don't have that spirit of Stan Lee, which in a way is quite appropriate because DC comics don't have the spirit of Stan Lee either. But having the spirit of Kirby is pretty great, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get where he's coming from. I get the whole comparison. It's all bombast and everything. The difference though is that when I read a Kirby comic, it doesn't stop moving. Kirby would never go in slow motion. Kirby's all about
Uh,
the next panel. That's the difference.
yeah,
Um,
that is true. That is true.
and even if it's a double page spread followed by a splash, it's just always something like boom, boom, boom. Um, that's the thing, though. It is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and if we remove the slow motion, we remove the desaturated colors because again, the movie is not actually tonally dark; it's only visually dark. If we remove that, if we remove the excess, it wouldn't be Zack Snyder's Justice League, would it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like we were talking again about mature, dark, and I think it works both ways. I think the people who are hypercritical of these of the Snyder films, like, oh, they're so dark, and it's like, well, you're just talking about the color filters. You know, you're
Mm.
not talking about the spirit or the tone of the film. And I think that the film's boosters and the film's haters both kind of mistake literally dark, for dark, which isn't really fair, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, did you see the Queen's Gambit?
No, no.
Well, I think it was like that because a lot of people were talking about how dark it was, but I watched it and I'm like, this isn't dark. It's just a desaturated color palette and there are drugs in it, but it's not
Mm,
dark. So I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
it's something very similar to that. And yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this. I don't really know where I was going with this. Let's talk about the new guys. Let's talk about Darkseid and
Dark Side.
everyone. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh well, he's just straight out of the comic, isn't he? Like, he's very, and there were certain times where he looked exactly like Howard Porter's Darkseid from the
Mm,
JLA storyline Rock of Ages.
yeah.
So he was very much Grant Morrison, Howard Porter's Darkseid, more than Kirby's Darkseid, which I liked.
Was it just me, or throughout between the flashback and the current day scenes, did he bulk up? Because in the flashback, I was like, well, he looks like Darkseid, but he looks really kind of small.
He's supposed to be Uxas or whatever it is, Ixas, whatever his name
Oxas,
is.
yeah. So before
Yeah,
he's Darkseid.
he's that's why he gets kind of dispatched relatively easily
Mm-hmm.
because he's technically not Darkseid yet. And something a little detail I quite liked is that when he was Uxas, I think he's almost got like a sort of omega shaped indentation in his
Yeah.
chest, like, which he fills out with his armor later on, and I quite like that detail.
And what did you think of the fact that it ended with them just staring each other down in the boom tube? Because I thought Superman could just probably go over there and kick your ass right now.
Yeah, yeah. um, yeah, they probably should have. But and with
I
Zack
mean,
Snyder,
there's 30 minutes left in the movie.
yeah, go for it, have a pop. Like,
Go for it, Superman.
I mean, I'm surprised that because it's kind of a cliffhanger ending, isn't it? And Darkseid doesn't in the end do very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised by how satisfying and complete it felt. And it's got no reason to feel that way in a way because it's this unfinished trilogy. But it does. I felt so satisfied with that ending, and it's like, okay, they're gonna fight Darkseid in their own personal future. Maybe we'll never see it, but I know how that'll go down, and I'm happy with that. So maybe it's the fact that it was 4 hours long. That was enough to make it feel complete. Like I'm finally full. You know?
A dark side story that doesn't get completed. That sounds about right. That sounds true to the spirit of the new gods.
I mean, and in a way, isn't that sort of like, you know, how Darkseid works? He's just always there on the horizon, the
Yeah.
big bad who's coming. And
Uh,
it really ever sort of lives up to it when he finally gets there.
Yeah, they can't fight him anyway until they get the Atom and Green Arrow.
Well, exactly. Yes.
I mean, Doomsday is already dead, so you can't beat him up. And
Yeah.
so Desaad. So I was watching Desaad, and this is neither a compliment nor a criticism. But every time Desaad was on the screen, you know who I thought of? Live action Skeletor from Masters of the Universe,
Oh,
1984.
yes. Yes. But that's quite, he does look quite good though, doesn't he? Live
I
action.
mean, that's why. That's why
Yeah.
I'm like, I half expected him to say something like, "Tell me about the loneliness of good Superman."
I mean, that's not how I would choose to portray Desard. I like the idea of Desard as this sort of greasy little Weasley little figure, like, you know?
Yeah, that was my thing. He's too big.
Yeah.
Like the rest of it, the way in a vacuum, the way he was portrayed, I think it was fine. But his size, he should be
Yeah.
small. He should be a
Yeah.
small person.
Yeah. Yeah. I really liked Steppenwolf though.
Really?
Yeah, because maybe it's just again in contrast with the Whedon version. I know his face looks like Grumpy Cat. Yeah, there's no getting around that. But I love his armor. I love that sort of like purpley sheen it's got over it all the way through. I love how bits are constantly moving. I know it looks like a bunch of staples, but just the way that it's got like bits moving on it all the time. I really loved that. And I loved how he looked when he took all his armor off and you saw his skin, and he looks like he's made his skin is bone. He looks
Mhm.
like he's made of bone. I
Yeah.
really loved that, how it looked. And you compare the level of detail and thought that's gone into his design with the design of this Whedon Steppenwolf, and there's absolutely no contest there. Like, you know, I mean, he's just the Whedon Steppenwolf looks so generic. I'd take Grumpy Cat any day over that. Like, you know? And I love how this Steppenwolf had a story arc. He had motivation, and you're kind of like, yeah, I get why Steppenwolf's doing this. Like, you know, which I really appreciated. Do you think
Uh,
there's a parallel universe out there where another one of Kirby's fourth world villains took Steppenwolf's place? Like
Calabac.
it's Calabac or what's his name? The German one, Vermin.
Firman Wunderbar.
I wish it was him.
I do too wish it was him.
Sorry, I interrupted you then. Sorry.
No, that would have been perfect. That would have been perfect in the spirit of excess. That would have been
Yes.
perfect. Firman Wunderbar.
He looks exactly like Steppenwolf in the movie, but he's got a monocle. Like, yeah.
And an accent. Don't forget
Yes.
the accent.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and I think if you talk about the new gods, Tom King and Ava I don't know how to say her name, Ava DuVernay are
I
coming up
think so.
with
Yeah.
the New Gods movie, and I'm gonna bet that it has nothing to do with this movie. It's just gonna be completely not tied together unless they just never show Steppenwolf. It would
Yeah.
be, and will they even use the same model for Darkseid? The same rig. I'd be really curious about that.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, that's the way to do a New Gods movie, isn't it? Maybe not with the slow motion, but with that sort of spirit of excess and portentousness, you know?
No,
Um,
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that I always said. Like, you know what, Zack Snyder, if they really wanted to go with this idea of mythology, of mythological, socially relevant, modern day, over the top, bombastic, hit your head with a hammer with symbolism, a
hmm.
thing. The New Gods are the way to go because like the symbolism in the New Gods is like so extrovert, no, so explicit, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the sledgehammer symbolism is built into it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Um, it's funny in a way that it's not Snyder doing it. Like, although I'm sure, we'll get a really good film though.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hmm.
But it would have been the perfect fit for him, I actually thought.
Yes, yeah.
What else did you think of the movie?
Let's think. I've talked about. Oh, I'll tell you one thing that I didn't like, but two things I didn't like about it. Yeah. Um, the first, I hate the trope of Superman becoming a villain because Lois dies. It's daft.
Yeah, I
Um,
would like I'm good with never seeing that again either.
yeah, absolutely,
It's like
and it's
Mark
it,
Wade opened a can of worms there. I mean, he didn't even
yeah,
become a villain in Kingdom Come. He just retired.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how Superman would handle the death of Lois Lane. It would affect him, but he'd go away and be sad for a while. That is essentially what happens in Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what would happen, I think. But he would not become evil because he's not Reed Richards. He's even when he's being portrayed as aloof and alien, he's not a character with a tenuous grip on his humanity. And I know in the film it's implied that he's infected with anti-life, and that's why he goes mad. But it's still him. The visual is him going evil because Lois is dead,
And
and
it's
just
him
Superman
though.
wouldn't do that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
And I am someone who is on board with lots of different interpretations of Superman. I love it when he's aloof. I love it when he's a man of the people. I had no problem with the Zod's neck snap. I thought, in terms of that story being told, it worked. But that's a whole other can of worms, you know.
We've
But
discussed it. We've discussed it.
yeah. But I'm not someone who's like Superman must be like this. But I just cannot buy Superman turning evil cause Lois is dead. And I think it was Tom Taylor said on Twitter recently, Superman's stronger than that, and he
Yeah.
is. And we're you and me, we're sort of weak human beings,
Yeah.
and I'd be destroyed if anything happened to my partner, but I wouldn't turn into a murderer. It's like, and I'm just an ordinary bloke, like, Um, and also, that's not even getting to the idea that killing off fictional women to motivate fictional men is gross. Is horrible. It was a cliche in the '90s, and it's
Yeah.
grim.
It was a cliche before the 90s.
Yeah. Well, this is
It
it.
just
Yeah,
got
yeah.
called. It just got called out in the 90s. Yeah, I don't know. It's a. I'm no prizing that as it was a Batman dream, and therefore everything is horrible.
Well, that's how I kind
I'm
of
just
view it
dumping
as.
on Batman this whole video. I don't know if you
This is
noticed.
well, I think the way obviously he got the nightmare stuff in there, the nightmare with a K stuff in there, because it's all the stuff he wanted to put in the sequel, and will now never get the chance. And so I'm like, good luck to you, Zach. Stick it in there. But the way he's done it, it doesn't rob the film of its sense of completion because it's like, well, this stuff might happen in the future if you don't watch your step, kind of thing,
Yeah,
and that's all right with me. But I generally hate that trope, and because Injustice is so huge, the two Injustice games are so big, and the comics were so well received. I hate the idea of this being a permanent trope that's forever associated with Superman because
yeah.
it's rubbish.
What if Superman, but evil? Hey
Yeah,
guys, I've got such a great new idea.
yeah, it's complete rubbish. I hate it.
Let's take
Um,
Superman and make him evil. Ha ha ha
yeah,
ha ha. Yeah,
you
I hate
know.
it too. What's the other thing you didn't like?
The other thing I didn't like, to a lesser extent, is it didn't affect the film for me in any way. It didn't bother me that much, but I just still don't think Jared Leto is very good. Um, I can see him trying. I can see the effort. Heath Ledger made it look effortless, and I can see Jared Leto trying so hard, and it doesn't work for me. I thought Affleck was really good. When Affleck dropped that F bomb, make no mistake, I will F and kill you. That was wonderful. I loved that. But Leto quacking away there. I just I hated that, you know.
You know why? You know why a Batman dropping the F bomb didn't bother me?
Why is that?
Is after a bunch of Kevin Smith movies, I'm so used to Affleck dropping the F bomb.
And you know, who says Batman doesn't drop the F bomb? You know, if Superman's effing and jeffing all over the place, that's a bit weird. But Batman swearing, I've got no problem with that. Like, you know,
Mm.
um, I am the effing knight. You know,
The
but
dark of the night.
yeah, but it's like, and I think this goes back to my feelings about the Joaquin Phoenix film as well, the Joker film. I think people took the wrong message from Dark Knight because the whole thing about Heath Ledger's Joker is that he's full of crap. You know, he's
Yes.
talking about like, oh, there is no plan, and it's like, well, you've clearly got several plans on the go. You know? And the whole point of the end of Dark Knight is that Joker loses the argument. You know, that's how Batman beats him. That's how Gotham beats the Joker,
Yeah.
is that they make him lose the argument, and that's the wonderful thing about that film. And you add that to the fact that Ledger's giving this amazing performance, and it's beautiful. But people went away from that, and they bought it. It's the same with the Killing Joke. People buy into this idea of the Joker being a reasonable response to the chaos and injustice of the world, and it's like he's not a reasonable
It's
response.
like,
That's
who
one
are
of the,
you? It's like, who are
yeah,
who are you to you worry me
yeah.
if you
But
think that.
that's one of the lies Joker tells. The Joker is lying when he says that, you know? It's like because I think it's in the Killing Joke that Batman even says to the Joker, well, maybe it's not how people react to these things. Maybe it's just you. And that's the truth of it, like, you know?
Hmm.
And the Joker knows this.
Yeah, he knows.
But I think people kind of came away from Ledger's Joker thinking like, oh yeah, basically Joker's really cool. Yeah, yeah, sticking it to the man by being the Joker. And I think Leto again is another his Joker is another extension of that. And I just don't buy it.
Yeah, the thing
I
that
think
he's a good
we
actor
need
in
a
a vacuum.
film. What's that, sorry?
I think he's a good actor in a vacuum, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's just this version. Like, there's never been a good version of the Joker after Heath Ledger. I thought the character that Joaquin Phoenix played was a unique was a unique character. It's definitely, you know, I thought he played it with skill and everything, but it's as much the Joker as it is Taxi Driver.
What we need as a society is a
Are
film.
you saying we live in a society?
We live in a society. I still don't really understand that, but
I don't get it
okay.
either.
We live in a society. And what we need as a society is a film where Batman beats the Joker. And I don't mean in a sort of like, oh, he's losing control and he's becoming just as bad as the Joker. I mean, hands Joker to the cops with Joker sobbing in a bin, you know, just like completely humiliates the Joker. That's
Yeah.
what we need because, the Joker's not someone we should be looking up to as a society.
No, we really shouldn't. I mean, you see all those
Mm.
memes about how the Joker and Poison Ivy a relation. No, to Poison Ivy, the other one,
Harley Quinn,
Harley
yeah.
Quinn. Yeah, our relationship goals, and I'm like, are you kidding me, guys? Come on.
Yeah. And it's strange how, like, considering the whole point of the Joker is that he's unpredictable, you don't know which Joker you're going to be facing. It's since Ledger, it seems like there's only one way of interpreting the Joker, and that's as this sort of killing joke style reaction to a chaotic and unjust society. And there's lots of other ways of doing the Joker too. That's the whole point of the character, like, you know.
Yeah. What else did we miss? Oh, Deathstroke is in
Oh,
this
he was
movie
good.
for some reason.
Yeah, just that. There's no need for that bit with Luther on the boat. Like, but hey, I'm okay with it. You know, give me the Luther cake, I'll take it. You know, um,
So,
I love Eisenberg as Luther.
do
So
you realize that Deathstroke meets Luthor? and then Batman has a dream about Deathstroke, a man he's never met.
Well, no, to be fair, it does imply that they've met because it implies that Deathstroke loses his eye because of Batman. Because
Oh
Luthor
yeah, that's a
says
good
something.
point.
Yeah, because it implies that there's history between Deathstroke and Batman.
I clearly paid much attention.
Because yeah, there's that bit where Luthor goes, "An eye for an eye," as we say, and it's.
How long has Martha Kent been the Martian Manhunter?
I think just for that scene, I don't think for the whole. But
No, I want to
something
go
I was
back to
thinking.
Man of Steel.
She died in the hurricane as well.
She died in the hurricane. She's been raising Clark this whole time.
what I what kind of like and this only just occurred to me while we were speaking about the scene earlier on. Lois knows that general and kind of respects him already. So he could have just visited her as the general. He didn't need to disguise himself as Martha. But okay, it was cool.
I, um, yeah. What else? Did you realize that woman with the hot dog stand was supposed to be Iris West?
Yes, well, only because I'd read it beforehand, like
Okay. Yeah.
But
Like,
I don't think it matters that if I didn't know it was Iris West, I don't think it
no,
would have taken away from the
it
scene.
wouldn't have mattered at all. It wouldn't.
Oh, the prison scenes were lovely as well, weren't they? With Barry and his dad.
With Doctor Manhattan.
Yes, yeah. I thought that, yeah, they were really nice. That was like his father's joy at the end where Barry
I
gets the job was really lovely.
I'd completely forgotten this was a thing. This was a thing now, right? Just Barry's dad is in prison for the wrongful killing of his mom. That's a Jeff Johns thing, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
So it definitely wasn't there beforehand.
No, no, that
Yeah.
was all in Flash Rebirth with Jeff Johns. And I mean, I don't mind it because I think every character got an extra layer brought to them after the crisis. And Barry never got a chance to have this extra layer brought to him because he was dead for
Mm.
20 years. So I don't mind that they've suddenly brought this extra layer into him now. And I think generally, I mean, I might be in the minority here, but I think it's enhanced Barry rather than detracted from him.
Okay, Paul. Lightning round to close off. Uh, best scene in the movie.
Oh, Flash going back in time.
Worst scene in the movie.
Joker.
Um, best actor in the movie.
Ray Fisher.
Yeah,
Tied with Ezra Miller. I think they were both brilliant.
yeah. I'm going with Ray Fisher. Uh, worst actor in the movie. I can't name this. I can't name this. People are gonna be mad at it.
um,
So
oh,
but she is the worst actor in the movie.
no, because I really like her. I like her. It doesn't take me out of the story because she's so good as that character. So I'm not going to say Gal Gadot. I don't know really.
Oh, I know. I meant Martha Kent. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I don't know because I genuinely like everyone in that film. Um, I can't think of a prefer. Jared
Is it
Leto,
Jared
there we go.
Leto? It's Jared
Yeah,
Leto.
Jared Leto. Yeah.
Should this universe continue?
No, no. It'd be lovely. I would love it if it did, but for the good of DC superheroes as a franchise, it's not sustainable. You can't make these strange, wonderful 4 hour epics that have to be streamed at your home forever. It's just not going to work. Warner have to find a way of making this accessible to the most amount of people because DC superheroes are so wonderful. They are the best thing on earth, and they deserve to be accessible to the most amount of people, not just nerds like me who want to gorge themselves on excess. You know? So,
Yeah,
and
I
you
see
know,
like a lot of the fans of this movie are, longtime comic book fans who, a lot of this movie is fan service.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah. You know, and I am a lifelong fan of DC Comics, so of course I'm going to love it. But you want to get new people into this. You know, you can't. It can't all be about fan service, and you've got to earn the fan service. You know, like the thing about Marvel is they're doing these 3 hour, 4 hour epics now, and they're doing like idiosyncratic, weird TV series now. But they earned that with 20 films of
No,
crowd
yeah.
pleasers.
If you start with that, it doesn't
Mm, no, and so I want, and you know, you see all these blogs and you see YouTube videos where the screen grab is generally a white man who looks a bit like me face palming, you know, or a cartoon of a white man who looks like me face palming. They're all the same, and they're all these men, and they're saying like DC should do this, Marvel should do that. I don't know what the. I'm just a bloke, you know. I don't work in Hollywood. I have no idea how you make these a franchise accessible to the most amount of
it's
people.
so
It's very easy
pretentious
for me to
too.
say that's what you should do, but
Yeah.
you know, obviously it is what you should do. But I don't know the secret. But
Yeah.
hopefully
It's
you
so
want to find it.
pretentious too. What's the point of like doing a video like that? Like,
Yeah, I
are
hate
you are you
that.
hoping somebody from Warner Brothers sees it and thinks
Yeah.
you're brilliant and hires you?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, I have no answers, and don't look to me. For, don't. This is my message to movie studios. I've said this before. Stop looking to the fans for answers. We have no answers for you. You're gonna have to think of it yourself. You
Yeah.
know.
Most of us will watch it even if we hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever they do, I'm gonna watch it. So you know.
Final review, Paul. Because here's mine.
Go on, you
I
do
didn't
yours.
I didn't like the movie, but it was exactly what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, that it's the same with me. Exactly what I expected, but I loved it. It was everything I wanted to be. It was, like I said earlier on, a banquet, a feast. That's the sumptuous. That's how I describe it. Yes.
I've seen enough Zack Snyder films, and I've seen, the two Zack Snyder films in the DC EU before this, and I'm like, well, what did I expect? It's exactly
Yeah.
what I expected. All
Yeah.
right, I think that's it.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think.
Know in the comments, share, subscribe, like. Please don't dislike this video, or you can if you want to. Let us know in the comments, and tell us what you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is not a cut.